beginning to believe that my YouTube channel should be called Everything I Like is Discontinued, or perhaps Obsolete. Today we're going to be adapting the obsolete Ridgid AC9910 to be set up to be used with the TP 1300 style Ridgid planer. I'm going to do some disassembly and some reassembly on this. The way it's set up now, I believe the gentleman had a table saw on it. I found this on Craigslist at a very good deal on a very nice stand. I looked around a bit and not a lot of metal stands currently available. Let's work on a little disassembly. As you can see, lots of holes for multiple configurations. So with this universal set, there's multiple width settings due to the different holes. So I'm going to go narrowest one way and widest the other. As you can see, the height is multiple adjustments. The manual indicates for a planer you want it on the highest setting. So to get the height I desire, which is roughly 29.5 inches, around about 30, including the flake board top. You adjust the legs on this, so you've got 2 holes below the upper legs exposed, and then there's 2 above where the 2 bolts are. There's 6 total, so you want 2 above, 2 with bolts, and 2 below exposed, unused. So we've got the height of the legs adjusted for both sides, and now we're going to put them back together. Using the narrow setting on the side pieces. It had been set up on the widest setting. We're going to bring it into the narrowest setting. As we're assembling, we're just going to do everything basically finger tight. Always nice to keep some of these little plastic trays that your luncheon meat comes in, if you buy lunch meat. They're very handy as little parts trays around the workshop. So in this configuration, in the narrowest setting, that gets us to about 16 inches in width. 14 would have been about ideal for the planer that's going to be setting on here, but that would take a bit of modification and drilling and cutting, and I don't think that's worth the 2 inches to get a perfect fit. This is a universal type stand. The bottom stringers are set up in a manner where you can actually, I don't know if there's the detail where you can see that, but the holes line up in a specific manner. The item marked CR sits on top of the one that says CL. So now, with everything hand tight and everything back together, it's time to go through and tighten everything up. I like to use a ratchet. Sometimes on things like this, when you use the impact, you end up with broken bolts. So I'll run through, give everything a nice snug. It's always important, anytime assembling anything like this, have a nice solid level work surface. As you're tightening, kind of give your piece a little work, a little jiggle. Make sure it's staying square with your table. That way you'll be square with the ground. So now it's time to fit the board top. To mount it the way the directions indicate, you end up with a gap of about 4 inches. And I don't really want that gap. Also, it's a bit wide, 24 inches. I just need a 22 for the planer, so I'll just do some trimming. So the holes are currently 3 inches from the edge, and we just need them to be 1 inch, so we'll use our tape. And we'll mark 2 lines. One indicating kind of the center line of the hole there, and then at the 1 inch mark, across the other way. And that'll give us our spot, and we can get our drill press set up. So I've got a Forstner bit chucked up here in Grandpa's Atlas drill press. I'm going to drill to the depth of the head of the Forstner bit, and that should give us about the right depth to match what was already there. And there we've got our, what looks about right. I'll get these all drilled. We'll chuck up a brad point bit, zip the correct hole in the rest of the way, and we can fasten these onto the stand. 4 more holes to drill. They look mostly okay. Now we're ready to not too bad. I'm just going to go to work and hand tighten. Then we'll set the planer on, figure out our locations to drill. To bolt it down. So that looks pretty good. So it's about flush on the sides, about 1.5 inches all the way around. We'll mark and drill some holes. See where we end up at. With the modified mounting location, because of the switcheroos that we did, the mounting hole ends up where the top of the metal framework was. So drilled a couple of holes to clearance that, as you can see all the way through, to make it work out. We're at the point of the reassembly where we're installing the leveling feet. Just putting them all at about 1 inch. Just going to hand tighten the nuts. There's one on the top, one on the bottom. Jam nuts. And then this fella's pretty much all together. With this stand, it needs the phony wood tab to get its rigidity, and you remember need to bolt it down properly, and then they also have a screw that the instruction wants you to put in that I had removed. Our project is now completed. Again, this was the Ridgid Universal Benchtop Power Tool Leg Stand, model number AC9910. As you can see, we did some disassembly, reassembly, refitted it to the size we needed for this application. We now have a mobile base underneath it to move it around. Did a little cleanup, got it looking as nice as new.